Welcome to Cybersmart's Chatterbox series for parents. I'm Kelly.
I'm Cara.
And I'm Gulsum. We've all been teachers in Australian schools and are now education advisors for the Cybersmart educational program.
Cybersmart Chatterbox has been designed to help parents help their children and whole families to find out how to be cybersmart and to use the internet safely. You can join the conversation in the forum below.
I don't know about anyone else, but did you have people at school who in exams wrote formulas on the back of their calculator or ruler?
Oh, well, they didn't have notes on their calculators and rulers, but they did take hours to write whole paragraphs at their arms, only to have them smudged and unreadable, as it was always so hot during exam period.
Yeah, no air conditioning in our day.
Well, we had one notorious cheat that wrote in code on his pencil case to help him remember key dates in history. Too bad for him, the teachers were always onto his latest tricks.
Now, would you agree that even when we were at school, all of us knew that this was dishonest?
Oh, of course.
Absolutely. It was cheating, much the same way as copying and pasting an essay straight from Google and then claiming it as your own work.
But I think it's interesting now that when you speak to kids about some of their actions online, it appears that some of them do not equate their actions or words as being hurtful or inappropriate and at times maybe even illegal.
What sort of things are you referring to when you say illegal?
Well, things like distributing inappropriate photos that have been sent to them. And sometimes it doesn't even have to be photos. There was this case, and I don't know if you heard about this one, a few years ago involving a young man who had sexually explicit images of Bart and Lisa Simpson from the Simpsons cartoon family on his computer. And he was picked up by the police on an unrelated matter, but his computer and the images were discovered. And as a result, he was subsequently charged with the possession of child pornography.
So you're saying that the images were cartoons and not photos?
Yeah, that's right. And the New South Wales Supreme Court upheld a decision that the animated characters depicted could be considered real people under the age of 18.
So the lesson for everyone is that it doesn't matter if an image is a cartoon depiction or a real photo. If the image is sexually explicit and it involves a minor or somebody depicted as a minor, then that image shouldn't be stored on a device or forwarded on to anybody.
Just getting back to your comment on some of the hurtful stuff we see on the internet, I do think that kids understand the impact of a real punch or a verbal lashing that they might give someone face to face. But the anonymous nature of the medium means that some kids aren't recognising that their hurtful words or the nasty comments they leave can have a similar impact to the physical stuff.
I actually think the cyberbullying stuff has a far greater impact. The gossip, the hateful comments, the put-downs are far more magnified because of the reach and the audience. It's way too easy for the images and the words to be rebroadcast and published and for everybody else to join in as well.
We want our kids to be kind even when others are not.
So why do you think that there's a disconnect for some kids when using digital spaces? Why does it appear that some of them are devoid of ethical thinking or more likely to let their standards drop in kindness when they're online?
I think there's a whole lot of factors at play, the online and offline peer culture that they're operating in, and things like the absence or the presence of adult mentors. Also the fact that some social networking sites lack comprehensive and well-enforced rules and regulations.
I'm not sure if you caught this in the news, but at the end of 2013, we had the first ever Australian case involving the use of Twitter proceed to a full trial.
Was that the case of the teacher suing a former student for defamation?
Yeah, that's the one. The student was ordered to pay over $100,000 in damages.
Well, I suspect this case will definitely set a precedent.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything said on social media which may harm someone's reputation could make you liable. Social media is a public place and our kids must never think anything published online will be private.
I heard that the judge also said that litigation may have been avoided if the defendant removed the content and apologised immediately. I wonder, as adults, are we clearly explaining the ethical expectations of what is acceptable and what is not? And are we having conversations about whether it's okay, for example, to download a song or a video that we have no rights to? And as adults, are we actually modelling legal behaviour ourselves? Are we having conversations about appropriate times and places to use their mobile phone? And are we talking about what is wrong with deliberately excluding classmates from online conversations?
It's about monitoring what your kids are doing and how they act online. Online behaviours should be treated no differently than other behaviours, good or bad. It is important, though, not to overreact to incidents of misuse.
It's the whole rights and responsibilities conversation, but I actually think it's probably even more basic than that. Are we asking our kids, what would you do if? For example, what would you do if a friend sent you a page that had been created about another student with the contents including unflattering photos and nasty comments? Ask your child what would they do if they were faced with this situation. Would they feel the pressure to like the page? Get them to reflect on how they would feel if a page like this was created about them.
And this is where emotional intelligence is really important. So getting kids to reflect on their actions, putting themselves in someone else's shoes and trying to develop their sense of empathy is critical in the online playground, just as it is offline. It's also about getting them to stop and think rather than instantly looking to gratify an impulse, thought or a need.
I think it's really necessary to give kids, and this includes teens as well, clear guidelines about what they should and should not be doing online. I'm also a firm believer that we need to participate with them online, using their inevitable mistakes as opportunities to learn.
I've definitely had my eyes open to some of the online dilemmas that I hadn't considered before. Thanks for tuning in. For more information on having those conversations about making good ethical decisions online, please visit our website at www.cybersmart.gov.au.